Yay! Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in 3 or 2 of a kind. This is me, Marcus, and Kevin. And we are going to, cordially redirect you, temporarily redirect you from work to the weekend. That is our mission. But we got a lot of SEO news chatter for you. You really want to stay here and listen to this. There's quite a lot of stuff that has happened during the week. You just released your second part of your awesome AI mode user behavior study. We definitely want to talk about that. And there also have been 2 interviews with senior Google execs that, more or less spilled a little bit interesting things. And we also want to talk about this besides a whole lot other search news. Oh, sorry again. I have to get into the English again, but I'm trying my best, Stay with me. I'm trying my best.
It works out.
Dennis Hudderbur is here. Hello, Dennis. It's great you're here. I just read him on a Slack message, on a WhatsApp message, and now he's here. Yay! So great you have the time to tune in, Dennis.
Where's Kaffee Meow? Isn't that the thing? Kaffee Meow joining his first once?
Not today. Yeah, where is Kaffee Meow? And if you're listening to us, just type something in the comments. We're really looking forward to everybody commenting here. And we actually promote every comment, even if you say we don't like you guys or I can't stand SEO, dude. That is your opinion. That's okay. Just put in a quick hello, and we're happy. So you are right now in Canada. Canada. So what are you doing in Canada, Kevin?
Man, I'm here for SEO RL, a conference organized by Steve Toth. I'm speaking here today in a couple of hours, and I'm coming back from almost like a roadshow or a tour a little bit. A couple of days ago, was in sunny San Diego, speaking at another conference. I'm not going to name the name out loud. Just kidding. Ahrefs Evolve. I had a good time there. Met a lot of fantastic people, and now Canada, and then back on Sunday. It's a busy time.
I think you're going to be in Amsterdam for SEMrush Spotlight, right?
Of course. Yep.
Awesome.
Just promoted that on Sunday on my LinkedIn.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, fantastic lineup. I actually just looked at the lineup because I got so much FOMO. I can't come to Amsterdam. I really would like to, but I cannot. And I checked out the lineup, checked out everybody, and I'm like, oh my God, I have so huge FOMO. Just so many friends and good SEO people there.
1,200 people. It's going to be massive. 1,200 people.
1,200 people. Yeah, I mean, like Spotlight is really massive. They did it for the first time last year. It was an incredible success, and they're doing it again this year with just more, better, everything what they learned from last year. And it's supposedly going to be a really good event. Dennis is going to be at Spotlight. Come on, Marcus. Yeah, dude, I would really love to come, but unfortunately I can't. But yeah, dude, I get so much FOMO. So please don't heckle me on this. It's incredible. Working at SEMrush, you get one of the best conferences in the world during the year, right? And I cannot join. But maybe you can. So I don't even know if there's still tickets left. But you should definitely check out the website. Maybe you can score more tickets. Again, so many cool people coming, and just an incredible lineup. Well done from the SEMrush event team. Yeah, big kudos and shout out. All right, so SEO in real life, IRL, in Canada. This is going to be today. So this is a one-day conference in Canada.
It's a 2-day conference, actually. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there yesterday because the flights from San Diego to Canada are just not great, or from San Diego to Toronto, better said. But it's a 2-day conference, and it had amazing speakers here as well. Really good people. I'm sad I missed the first day. You had people like JC from TripAdvisor, a couple of other great speakers, really good topics. I think it's like a click more technical than most conferences, which is always interesting. And then Ahrefs was a little bit of the opposite. It was like a good variety of topics, something like some more about content, some more about AI, some more about marketing broadly, some more about community management, newsletter stuff. So it's like it's a nice week.
We're talking about right now. Yeah. Okay. Got it. All right. I mean, let's dive straight into the news. Let's see what we have here. Yeah. So we talked about last week. I mean, last week was a tremendous show. If you haven't seen it, you should really check it out, because we basically focused for 45 minutes just on our mode, everything, your user mode, your study, as well as other studies. We talked extensively about all this because, I mean, this is going to be the new reality, probably, supposedly. And now you're just during the week, you released the second part of your amazing AI mode user behavior study. So I would say let's dive right into it.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. So, like, thanks for pulling that up. The second part was a mix of a couple of things. First of all, an overview of like what are the actual elements and surfaces that you can optimize for, and how do people engage with them. And a lot of it is, again, it's like more reading than really clicking. So one interesting example are the merchant cards. When you perform a shopping search in AI mode, you get similar to like a shopping grid in regular search. You get some cards of products in AI mode. And what we found is that 50% of people click on the merchant card, but only look at it to get the details and the facts. They don't, like, the other 50% clicks through to buy, but half of people just want more information, right? And so this is, again, like a play of influence, where it's important that, like, I mean, there's only so much you can change about the details of your product, right? But you need to provide the details of your product. There's a feed management component to it. There's a landing page optimization component to it. And your goal has to be to convince users that your product is the better one. And it goes back to also understanding who your users are, right? If you know that this product appeals more to people who are price sensitive, then you really want to highlight that in all the data. Or if it's the opposite, right? If you appeal to people, who really care about the best quality and price is a secondary element, then you need to add more product attributes about how qualitative the product is, maybe the material, right? Maybe the manufacturing process, etc. So there's a lot of depth in that whole idea of shopping cart optimization. We're only starting to scratch the surface, but I'm sure this is going to be connected to Google's Merchant Center as well, where you can upload a bunch of data. And again, so it goes back to spending the time to really groom your data, add all the details in the Merchant Center, because it will reflect back to how people select products in AI mode.
By the way, this is, I think, one of the advantages Google still has. We're going to talk about it in one of the interviews, because this is one of the facts that got spilled in this interview. How many, like, 2 billion updates a day on products, because so many people are already using Merchant Center, so many people already using feeds to basically tell Google, hey, this is the inventory I have, this is what I have here, right? And this is actually something, again, 2 billion a day, if I remember correctly, as we're going to look at it right in the interview. And this is, I think, tremendous, yeah, compared to even the GDP, also doing shopping and like starting off, I mean, like, ambitiously, but nevertheless, only with a couple of merchants, and Google already has that, right? I think that's a huge thing, and I think Google still has a tight grip on this, because they get so much more data than anybody else in this game.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's an advantage here, and the question is, how are they going to leverage it? It's obviously a race between ChatGPT with their direct shopping integration and Google, but then there's also Amazon, right? And so I'm still waiting for the big bang from Amazon, sharing their shopping experience integrated with Alexa, etc. But let's see when that comes out. The other interesting thing is about brand trust, right? And so one, I think, to me, fascinating finding from the study is how big of a role it plays that people already know your brand. We know this plays a role in regular search as well. I did this AI overview user behavior study a couple of months ago. We found the same thing, right? Really, people really care about the brands that they know and they trust. And in AI mode, it's an even bigger deal, right? So when people want to buy, when they have an intent, right, to buy something or to sign up for something, they usually have maybe like 3 brands top of mind. And a lot of times the winner is going to be one of these 3 brands. So a new aspect of SEO, as this whole AI thing is becoming more prevalent, is to ask yourself, what can you do to stay top of mind for your audience, right? And I think we don't know exactly what the levers are for that. The first thing is always advertising, right? And sure, advertising matters, but what are other things that you can do to stay top of mind for your people? Maybe it's something like, leading more into newsletters and making newsletter signups more of a goal from SEO content. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's more community.
Which is always good strategy, owned media. Like this is my user. I have his email address. I can email him. I'm allowed to do that. so much better than if I have to buy my traffic each and every day, right? So it's always great to build up that kind of database, obviously.
You tell it, Marcus. That's exactly the point. And then, yeah, maybe a couple of other things. One is interesting that we found, like, when people click, and they rarely click, right? But when they click, there's a much higher probability that they click on an inline text rather than the link icon, right? So you often have the link icon on the side, right, the right panel on the side. But when AI mode shows links right in the text, right in the core answer, the main answer, that has a much higher chance of getting clicked. And it's interesting because Robbie Stein, the VP of Search, recently said the same thing on Twitter. He said that we observed that people click more when there's inline text, and I was able to validate that in my study too. And so it's good to see that Google has that awareness and has.
Also, they're not lying about everything. It's like, oh, that makes sense. All right.
Exactly. Not everything is a lie.
Dude, you really discuss them.
You get so much more traffic from AI mode. But it's also good that they want to, move into that direction of link clicks. And honestly, I don't think it's because they want to save the web. I think it's a better experience. I think they understand that when people click, it's either to transact, which is good for Google, or it's to validate the answer, which is also good for Google. So I hope they will make more moves like
this
that.
goes so back into the reasonable surfer model, right? I mean, like it has always been this way. If you had like your website and you had like links inline, within your content, people were actually clicking these links, but nobody was clicking on the, the footer links and stuff like this. I mean, like 20 years back, like all the links in the footer, even selling them and that kind of stuff. And Google really, they came up with the reasonable surfer model to actually discredit some of those links because they know they're never going to be clicked. But like with inline links, they know they're going to be clicked. These are like good and supposedly carried a little bit higher value in that regard. So I think what we're seeing now is basically like it has always been, and look at this. If you're writing the content, put links in line, they get clicked more. If AI mode writes the content and puts the links in line, they get clicked more. It's like, duh. Yeah. What did you expect? Yeah. I was just asking, not you.
Reinventing the wheel,
Yeah. By the way, we have to say hi to Kaffee Meow coming out. Servus, du Wurm. Servus. Nice you're here.
Yeah. So brand trust, inline links, and then we just added a bit more context and color around the whole thing. Or kind of, I think one of the core findings, which is that people like really only click when they want to buy. They really only click when they want to transact. And you have to I have to add here that in this study we asked people to put products into the shopping cart, so they had to click out, right? And I just want to make clear that if we hadn't asked them to do that, I think the actual number of clicks would have been 0. You know what I mean? So it's so important to highlight how little clicks actually happen in Google AI mode. It's a closed experience. It's much more like Instagram or TikTok or maybe YouTube even than Google search, right? From a experience and from a user behavior perspective. So the more this rolls out, the more feathers, like this is going to be very, very difficult. And here I'm in Canada right now. I was in the US last couple of days. And so I already saw some new features. You can see them with a VPN in Germany as well. But I saw some new features in Google Chrome. There's Gemini in Chrome, which has really surprised me because it sees everything on your screen. And you can ask questions about that and connect it to Gemini. It's really, really impressive, right? So you have more of that conversational experience. And then second, all the shopping grids in regular organic search had an AI mode button under them, right? So explore this product in AI mode. So Google is really pushing this forward aggressively.
By the way, we're going to say good morning or food morning in that case to Hans Kronberg, number 3, Kevin, position number 4, Hans, position number 3. Congratulations again, Hans. It's so great you're here. By the way, I only see people from Facebook and YouTube. I actually had the same problem on Monday that actually like LinkedIn had some sort of a problem since I don't see LinkedIn people. If somebody sees us on LinkedIn, please can you comment? You can also comment, you suck. I don't care. Just so that we know it works, because there was a problem we had on Monday. As it seems to work on LinkedIn, but it wasn't like real time connecting the comments and everything. So yeah, if you're on LinkedIn, please comment. Yeah, thank you. This is not for engagement. This is really for me to see if it works.
And a little bit of engagement.
Dude, we get enough engagement. It's cool. I don't worry about that. Okay. By the way, here, map and bad clicks, 0. Nobody's clicking on this. But by the way, what we were just saying, so people are not clicking. I think there was a wild theory saying this is like more like Instagram or TikTok. Actually, never heard that comparison before. Also in regards to AI mode, but I think it really depends on the use case. In your case, it has always it has been artificial use cases. So please do this or buy that, right? And I mean, I think if people really have the urge to buy something, right? Eventually there are also clicks happening because in the end they need to buy it. But what you're saying is, besides buying, there's really nothing happening. Also, only when people need to buy something, there's actually clicks happening, but you didn't have any instance where it was like an informational topic or researching whatever that people were actually clicking out. They stayed only in the AI mode experience.
Correct. They only stayed in the AI mode experience. Even when they want to compare products, they stay in AI mode. And that is scary, right? Like, I agree with you. The only clicks we're going to see are transactional ones. And look, like, Google is going to bring direct checkout into AI mode. I think that's pretty clear now that ChatGPT has it, right? So even those clicks over time will go to like a minimum. Maybe people will still click out to evaluate the merchant or something. Like, maybe there's some clicks, like a few clicks. But I think compared to the volume that we have today, which is already 30 to 50% less than what we had in 2024, what maybe it's like 5 or 10% that we're going to see down the line if we're lucky. The clicks that are still happening, they're going to be incredibly valuable and incredibly high signal, but it just goes to show that with experiences like AI mode, the website is so much more secondary.
But I mean, like, you think that's scary? I mean, like, I think Google shareholders will find this even more scary, right? I mean, like, especially with all the talk about, I mean, we had it last week, right? AI mode maybe is going to be the new default. And I mean, I get it, like monetizing the shopping affiliate links and the whole shebang. I get it, right? But is this really, I mean, like, is this in any sort, like, as a, you know what I mean, right? But I just can't express in English.
Yeah, totally. It's
I just can't wrap my head around it because with so many less clicks happening, right? Is Google be able to sustain their business model, which drives in billions each month?
Yeah, I think they have to move to a cost per lead or cost per sale model. I think the cost per click doesn't cut it anymore, right? So I think there has to be a bigger shift. This, of course, Google will try to do as slowly as possible, and it's going to be really the competitors that dictate the pace. So how fast is ChatGPT going to move? Amazon, Meta, right? Some of these companies, they're going to dictate the pace. Because I agree with you, and Google's biggest interest is to keep the status quo, but they have to move. And so they will do this as slowly as possible. And I think they will have to find different core metrics to optimize for.
Cool. Good point. Okay, we see, local packs just doesn't work at all. I was actually asked this week, I was at an event at Allianz, and they were also asking about this. And I think local search is very still underrepresented in these new search engines. And I think like the Google experience, with the Google business profiles and everything is already like a very good experience, right? And I think right now, I think that the LLMs are really struggling with getting like a real local product up, and it doesn't really cut it to do it with the same sort of like the same technique, because it's a little bit different. Obviously, what do you think about that in regards to what you learned through your study?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I was surprised by this result. I actually think that Google is best positioned for local search with Maps. I think Maps in itself is already such a big destination, and I think you cannot recreate the same experience in AI mode. If you want to see the restaurants around you, right? This morning I was looking for a coffee spot, so I went to Google Maps and looked at other cafes, right? Like, I think that is just such a strong experience that you can basically get nowhere else as good. And so I think what we actually need is a study just for local search to really understand, because this was just one exercise of 7. And so I think we need to really understand how that works. And also how it changes over time, right? I would be surprised if air mode doesn't play a bigger role in local search and Google Maps, but you're absolutely right. The local search experience on ChatGPT is really bad. And on Apple, I don't think really can hang here. Yelp is, just generally, I think as a business, not in a great spot. So,
but Google has an inherent advantage here because they have 80% of Android phones, and this is already like your localization, the context right in there, right? Because I really know where you are. So in some other search engine, I have to type, hey, what are the best restaurants in Munich? I can get a Schweinebraten, yeah. And I know Dennis loves his Schweinebraten. And here it's like, I want Schweinebraten. I know where you are, and I know that you're walking and how far you can walk and whatever, right? I mean, like, this is really your context signal right in your pocket. And I think this is the huge advantage Google still has, especially when you want to also make your local product better, what they've done throughout the years, like extensively, right? And I think this is really like one of the big advantages they still have in this space, which is just not easy to recreate for all these other search engines. Even if you get people to download your apps and everything, they own the ecosystem and the biggest context signal here.
I agree. I agree. I think out of all the advantages that Google has, local is the biggest one. By far the biggest one. And do not forget like how much shopping still happens offline, right? It's like, I think in the US, it's...
Yeah, thank God. I'm actually still going to the bookstore. I'm not going to Amazon. You know that I'm not ordering from Amazon, right? But I go to the bookstore, right, to buy my books, and I buy toys at the toy store. I support your local dealer. Yeah, I don't want like this desert, not dessert, right? I want the desert, deserted, like streets without any shops, and everybody's just ordering online, sending back packages back and forth, which is also not good, right? As a support your local dealer. I love that I can in 5 minutes walk to multiple stores and buy stuff and not have to go online.
Yeah, same. I use for books. I use Bookshop. Bookshop sources from local booksellers. And yeah, I agree. Like I also want like a thriving local a merchant and shopping experience. I think good service is a differentiator,
and also paying taxes, by the way. Just like the whole Amazon, Starbucks, and I'm not going to Starbucks. I'm going to a coffee shop. It's still crazy. You have a coffee shop and a Starbucks next to it in Munich, and the Starbucks coffee shop will pay less taxes, right? I mean, how freaking insane is that, right? What it is, with all the Holland sandwich and whatever kind of creative things they do, right? And I think this is horrendous. And the same goes for like buying on Amazon or anything else.
Local merchants have to differentiate through service. They have to offer better service. And I will also say, like, sometimes it's just not the case. And that, that's from like, ooh, you're not a good spot. Anyway, I agree with your broad point, right? This is important. And I think it's in the US, I think close to 80% of all retail is offline. 80%, right? And so like that is the chance for Google, is to bring like to make that easier. I don't think they monetize a lot on that. You can run some ads on Google Maps, but who else is going to step into that role? No, I don't see anybody, right? So that's the biggest advantage.
Yeah, and also getting offline inventory into Google, right? I mean, like, this is such a big thing. You want to buy something, you can order it here. Oh, by the way, 500 meters from here, you can actually go to the store. There it is. They have it, right? In store. I mean, this is such a big thing. And Google, Google
bought a startup 10 years ago that does that helps local retailers bring inventory online, because the reality is you have to scan a barcode, right? And you have to connect it to your systems and to your online store and stuff. It's not easy. It's really, really hard. But Google invested in that 10 years ago, and I hope that it becomes even better, because I still have trouble sometimes finding products, but that's their advantage. I agree.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about two other things. So there were two interviews, one with Google's Liz Reed, obviously head of search at Google, so she really knows what she's talking about. And also another interview from Robbie Stein that you just mentioned, who wrote something on Twitter. He was interviewed on a podcast and also said some interesting things. Let's first dive in on what Liz Reed said. By the way, ad revenue with AI overview is relatively stable. I like the expression, like relatively stable. Yeah, sounds like no, not at all. But they're basically having that narrative of, oh, here some queries lose ad clicks, but total query volume rises when answers are fast and easier. Also, this is so funny though. They say because it's so much easier, so much better, people search more, and you have less clicks, but now we have more searches again. I don't really buy fully into this argument, and I just cannot see that these supposed additional searches are really making up for the massive click loss that these other searches actually have. Or do you say no? I think Liz Reed is right.
I think as always, it's a game of semantics here, right? Google PR trained leaders are just so good at exactly choosing the words here, and you have to be careful about that. So when they say query volume rises, but revenue is stable, that means they have less clicks, right?
Yeah.
So more people search, maybe, okay. But if ad clicks are flat, right, or stable, that means that the number of clicks is going down. And so once again, I think they're burying the lead here in like semantics and by being very, very intentional about which words they choose. But the reality is that clicks are. Anybody who tells me that clicks are not down across the board is lying. Like I have not seen any indication of that. And sure, if you publish, 100 times more content, you might see positive click growth, but the CTRs they're down significantly. And so it's interesting to see how Google tries to escape the real answer, like a slippery eel, just like not really playing it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't really grab them at that.
I love how she's even doubling down on the narrative, and I love this. So they're bringing in the story from back in the days, right? Today's AI transition is like the transition to mobile. When skeptics doubted Google could adapt ads to smaller screens, but the shift boosted growth for Google. People ask similar question when the time of mobile came, right? Like, oh, will you actually be able to have an ads product in the mobile space? The phone is so small. You're such a desktop product. Are you going to be able to transition? And it's actually proved very healthy for us, right? I love this. She's like, you remember back then, it was just the same. You were asking the same question. No, it's not the same. It is different. This is different. This is the ecosystem. Okay, the screen is getting smaller. Well, I mean, it's so different. But I love how she's like spinning the narrative, and basically it's just like this. And we were also going to profit from this. We were going to make so much more money in the end through this evolution we're just going through. That's wow. I mean, also I got to clap for ChatGPT probably writing this for her, but I mean, this little story, or probably she used Gemini, I don't know. But yeah.
It's good PR. It's good PR. They clearly have a PR team that is very sensitive to what they put out and whatnot. I'm going to be very curious about the next earnings calls, because one thing that is very indicative is the 10Q. So the 10Q is a document required by regulators in the US for public companies where they have to disclose, or they don't have to, but they can disclose more data. Anyway, and in there, you can find the impressions that Google tracks for sites in their content delivery network, right? So basically the open web and publishers, and impressions have been going down continuously quarter over quarter over the last couple of years. And then at the same time in this document, they report basically the CPC across the board, which has been going up continuously year over year, right? And so the reality is they cannot hide this forever from the earnings calls. And so every quarter, I'm very curious to see what do the numbers look like. What is the reality? Where does revenue come from, right? You see a lot more, I would say Google could be more diligent in breaking out where revenue comes from. And so anyway, there is room to hide, but not forever.
Yeah, they get also room, which is basically growing, like YouTube, right? I mean, like YouTube, they got a great asset there, and obviously monetization on YouTube is thriving. It's very good, and so they obviously can also, like with creative bookkeeping, I think like to also in some way or form disguise a little bit like what's really going down and what's going up, because they can shift it a little bit. But okay, but it might be a conspiracy theory from me. But what's actually happening is Google already says it serves more video, more forums, more user-generated content. And I also like what she said here. There's a behavioral shift that is happening in conjunction with the move to AI, and that is a shift of who people are going to for a set of questions, and they're going to short form video. They're going to forums, they're going to user-generated content a lot more than traditional site. And we do have to respond to who users want to hear from. We are in the business of both giving them high quality information, but information that they seek out. And so we have over time adjusted our ranking to surface more of this content in response to what we heard from users. I mean, like, obviously that makes a lot of sense. So many people, we talked about it extensively, how people were searching plus Reddit for the longest time, and Google like really picked up on this. Oh, people search something plus Reddit, so I just got to put Reddit in here. And now Reddit is all across the board. And the same goes for short form video. It's really taken over. I mean, like, I think with TikTok starting, and then basically everybody like copying these reels kind of things, and people just get used to like shorter and shorter amount of content. We talked about it last week as well. 20 years ago we had an attention span of 15 seconds. Now it's only 8 seconds. So I mean, this as in just 20 years. I mean, like another 20 years and we are at -1. I don't know. I mean, like seriously. I mean, what's next, right? I mean, like this is and I think this is going more and more and more and more. I mean, we're gonna see a lot more short video. Just talk to Cindy Krum, and she's probably going to say the same at Spotlight, at SEMrush Spotlight in 2 weeks, right? This is big right now, and yeah, I mean, obviously they're saying people want that, so we give them more of that. But is it like basically like, also you're making the problem worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse by giving you more and more of them, or how do you see this?
Yeah, I mean, look, like at the end of the day, I don't think like Google is too concerned with that problem, right? Like, and the impact, to be honest. I think maybe YouTube thinks about this a bit more, and they will say things like, yeah, we have features that like force you to put the phone down after a certain amount of time, blah, 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 blah. So the reality is, I think this is a regulatory problem, right? The governments have to step in here. But I think like there's another interesting takeaway here, which is that it's an incredibly strong signal to Google when people search your brand in association with a generic term, right? Mm-hmm. And we saw this at Shopify. I saw this with other customers, whether it's insurance or e-commerce. I actually spoke about that with a couple of other conference attendees over the last couple of days, right? Like, one of the strongest signals you can send is not just brand search in general, but also brand combination search. And I think Reddit is a great, fantastic example for that. But I think this is something that anybody should think about. Like, how can we position ourselves in a way that people associate a topic so strongly with our brand that Google has no choice but to rank us at the top?
But interesting, what you're just saying, and what Liz is saying here, this has been the basis of the Wins update. And when was the Wins update? Like also almost 20 years ago? No, probably not. Like 15 years? I don't know.
Or something? 25?
I don't know. But this is exactly what happened with the Wins update, when all of a sudden, like, Dell, like people searching for Dell computers, and Google was like, okay, Dell should rank for computers. Makes a lot of sense because they search the brand in conjunction with that query, and this is what was happening across the board. And this is basically the same thing all over again. So it's business as usual, I would say, right?
Yeah, 2009 is when it came out.
2009.
And by the way, fun fact, I just Googled Vince update. Who's number one? Right.com.
What?
Yeah.
I saw a ranking for that. Oh, yeah. I love it.
Yeah, no AI mode answer here. So
damn.
What's Google been doing?
Oh, you don't need AI mode, but we're number one. So, by the way, I just saw Sisters, I think, but whatever. So
in the US, and
Giannis is as well.
In the US and Canada, you're killing it.
Okay, nice. I love it. And there's another Google. Let's talk about what Robbie Stein said on this podcast. And I think it's a little bit more interesting. And yeah, he's saying basically the same thing. We're seeing more searches than ever as people ask harder, more conversational, more visual questions. Yeah, there's actually just more and more questions being asked and curiosity that can be fulfilled now with AI. That's where you get the growth. The core Google search isn't really changing, in my opinion. We're not seeing that, but you're getting this expansion moment. And this is super interesting because I think also how he basically tells the story. And then he brings in this standpoint of the Google Lenses proof. 70% year-over-year surge in visual searches, billions and billions and billions of searching this way. And I love this, right? This is also where additional searches are coming from. As I was just saying with YouTube, right? This is also with Google Lens. More and more people use it because you can now use it. It was just, you couldn't do this before. You couldn't search with just a picture, snap a picture and tell me what this is, right? This wasn't just possible. Now people wake up to this possibility, actually use it a lot more. But nevertheless, this is, also, again, we see volume rising maybe, with billions and billions of searches, but how many of these billions and billions of, snap a picture, tell me what this is, actually end up in an ad click or anything?
There's also classic Google PR here, I think, a little bit. And the reason that makes me think that also is because Google says, over 2 billion people use AI overviews, but they have no choice because you showed it to them. You know what I mean? So Google makes it look like people choose AI overviews, and it's
we saw that on Google Trends, right? We saw on Google Trends where people are like, I want to search for ChatGPT, but AI mode, not really. People are not
exactly. So
it's wrong, like forcefully spoon feeding a baby. It's like, eat your spinach, use AI mode. Come on, right? A little bit.
Oh God.
And here, this is also very interesting. AI mode in the future of search. Stein essentially called AI mode a new layer of search that gives searchers a consistent, simple product experience where they don't have to think about where they are asking a question. That's also, I think, very interesting how they formulated it. I mean, like we had this also last week where we would say we have this ecosystem is basically like a dual channel model. On the one hand, you use tools like ChatGPT for creation, synthesis, indexation, kind of things. What did you just...
Sorry, wrong button. I wanted to mute myself. I changed the layout.
Yeah, but now it doesn't show the thing anymore.
Sorry, here we are.
How does it show the slides again? Wait, move it and to stage. No, again. Don't click around. No, I'm just so we have this dual channel model, right? For synthesis, for creation. This is where we're using this for, and this for and good, like traditional search for structured information retrieval, right? As we have always been using it. And this is, I think, really interesting, because he basically says, how Google AI search differs from competitors. And I found this super interesting. AI mode isn't a chatbot. It's designed and specially created for informational needs, for planning, learning, verification, not therapy, productivity, or creativity, Stein said. This is so interesting. So they are now really already basically like drawing the line and basically like saying, okay, this is what ChatGPT does. That's awesome. Like writing texts and, give me therapy and all the stuff you use it for, which is super scary when you told me, right? And this is the stuff that you can do on ChatGPT, but not with Google. So we are here for information retrieval, and obviously also if you want to buy something, right, this should be us. I mean, like they've been fighting for the transactional queries with Google for the longest time, and this is also, again, like new playing field, but they're playing strong here. But I thought this is very interesting that they basically didn't go out like, hey, AI mode is just like ChatGPT, go ahead, use it as if you would use ChatGPT, so you get the market share again, but actually giving ChatGPT and the other LLM search engines basically a market, right? You get a market for creativity, and which is also good because which is very hard to monetize. Write me a blog post about cat food. Where's the ad, right? I mean, like, what kind of ad could you put in there? It uses a lot of tokens, probably from your input if you write a good prompt, and also from the output, right? And it's very hard to monetize. I mean, like, obviously they're using it because you have a subscription basically pay for these tokens you're using. But I think this is so interesting how they're now really saying, hey, ChatGPT, this is your market. It's very hard to optimize, to monetize, but this is your market. You can have that, and we get the information and shopping, Just, what did you think when you read that?
Yeah. Look, like it's an interesting frame. It's good framing again, because it's true. Like some LLMs like Claude are much more used for work. They're used more for coding. They're targeting more of the enterprise market. So that is not wrong. Perplexity is kind of like an AI search layer on top of, an AI layer on top of search. But at the same time, I don't think that that's ChatGPT's opinion as well, right? I think Google tries to frame it in a way that, everybody divides up the playing field. And the reality is everybody competes for the same playing field. Again, there's no word about Amazon. There's no word about Bing, which has gained market share, and Copilot, right? Or some of the other kind of platforms that haven't moved into this yet. Like, Meta has their chatbots, but like TikTok, Instagram, and so on, these are platforms where a lot of purchases happen, right? They're very e-commerce focused. So they're absolutely going to bring out their own AI chat experience for something similar. But anyway, again, I think it's good PR training.
Good PR training. Well done, Robbie Stein. And he also answers what we should actually do for AEO, GEO, whatever you want to call it. This is so interesting because he basically says, yeah, sure. I can give you a little bit under the hood, like how this stuff works, because I do think that helps people understand what you do. When our AI constructs a response, it actually is it does something called query fan out. Now, so basically trying to explain the stuff that we were talking about like for the past couple of months, where the model uses Google search as a tool to do other querying. So maybe you're asking about specific shoes. It'll add and append all of these other queries, like maybe a dozen of queries, and start searching basically in the background. And it will make requests to our data kind of backend. So if it needs real-time information, it'll go do that. And so at the end of the day, actually something searching, it's not a person, but there are searches happening. And he basically says, each search is paired with content. Your web page is designed to be extremely helpful. Read the guidelines. So basically, what he says, it's always like the SEO basics. He's basically like giving. So if you want to succeed in AEO, GEO, whatever, SEO basics, right? And this is it. Have comprehensive content people will find helpful, and also our AI will find helpful, and use it in our answers, right? And this is just it. Advice for creators. I think the only thing I would give advice to you would be think about what people are using AI for. I mentioned this in expansionary moment that people are asking a lot more questions now, particularly around things like advice or how to, or more complex needs versus maybe some more simple things. And so if I were a creator, I would be thinking, what kind of content is someone using AI for? And then how could my content be the best for that given set of needs now? And I think that's really tangible way of thinking about it. Yeah, but it's also thinking about, I create this content that you don't have yet, and Google is like, oh, thank you, because somebody just asked the question, and I need exactly what you paraphrased right here in my response. Thank you very much for that. You get a link, right? Like somewhere, somehow, I don't know. So first of all, on the one hand, obviously, I like that they're always reiterating, hey, basic SEO, this is still a thing, and this will also help because there are searches happening, and this is what's happening. It's just a layer on top of it, so to speak, that there are searches happening, and these are answered with how we know how it works. But it's so dissatisfying, that it's sort of like even like gaslighting a little bit, right? It's so easy. It is so easy, when I'm creating, I would be thinking about that. Okay, but I have so many questions.
It's called hiding in common sense, right?
Hiding in common. Oh, I love that.
Hiding in common sense. I can give you a couple of more tips, right? Like make sure your website is online, make sure your server is connected to the power, right? Yeah. Like make sure your site is accessible to Google. Like these are all great tips for AI mode. Like, yeah, cool. None of that is actually like, it's a politician's answer. And look, I want to be clear. I do understand that Robbie cannot go out and just actually spill the tea.
Oh, of course.
But I think Google would actually benefit from sharing a few more details, right? The algorithms are so complex these days that, if you give away maybe even 20 or 30% of how they work, people will still not game the system. And yes, in some industries, you can still spam, blah, 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 blah. But for the most part, right, for most kind of white hat spaces, legit businesses, spam is not an option, right? So they need to play by the rules. And I think Google would do well by giving away a few more rules so people still have an incentive to optimize for Google as an ecosystem because of clicks are going down so much. So
saying, give us juicy content, oranges we can squeeze.
Yeah. It's like, at least say something about EAT, or you know what I mean? Like, give us a bit more here. This is too obvious.
Oh, I got something about EAT. Good you're saying this. But let me, like, one more thing in here. Pedro Diaz shared this, and I love this. AI-generated content has overtaken human writing, but also growth has stalled. I think this is so freaking crazy, right? Also, how really it has totally taken over. And I had this. It's just this week, somebody was writing me, "Hey, do I get a good content editor who can write at scale?" And I'm like, "Do people like this still exist?" And I'm like, seriously, right? And you see it right here, and especially if you like really like put some numbers on it, right? How much does a token cost? How much does a good writer cost, right? This is alarming, as I would say. If I see that kind of graph, this is alarming, and not just for us, but also for Google, who say, okay, my AI content can be just as good as human content, right? As long as it's helpful for the user. But if the whole ecosystem is basically only like just as not human anymore, right? Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes the thing consumes itself at some point.
That's a good question. I see the same thing as well. And look, like I also think that this is a big kind of experimentation period. So I'm curious how this is going to stay, how this is going to evolve over time. But I think everybody should use AI to write content, not to write all of content, right? But to assist with the content creation process and make it more efficient. So the question here, I know that the graphite study that Pedro is citing here provides a lot more context about this, right? But the question is, how well does the content perform? How well does it convert, etc.? And what was the creation process in the background? Is using Grammarly already AI? Is using ChatGPT to draft? Is that AI? Is it to write the whole content? Is that AI? So there's different layers to this. But I think the reality is that we are in this world where AI content is the default. It should be.
Yeah. By the way, Jesse, thanks for tuning in. Great to see you again. Wow, haven't seen him in a long time. I think like the last time, like 20 years ago at PopCon, probably. It's great. It's great you're joining here, Jesse. Hope you're well. All right, then. And the biggest thing, dude, I love this. When I read this, Google rolls out a new global sponsored results ad label. Just reading the headline, I knew this was going to be fishy. And this is just a little bit insane. So they basically now, because I mean, like they have obfuscated this, for the longest time. When it all started, when they're basically copying Overture, who started the whole GoTo.com, which got Overture. Basically, they invented that model that Google is still using here. And back then, it was like a green background. It was like clearly, that these are sponsored links, and it became more and more obfuscated. And now it's like only the small ad. And now they came up with an even better solution. I mean, like obviously you have all these high-paid, super smart people at Google, who just think about how can we make more money from the real estate that we have. And they came up with this fantastic solution that we basically have the sponsored links and everything below is sponsored links. And the great feature is that you can also, click it as that you can basically hide all the ads with one click. Woo, nice feature, right? But this is like, oh my God, if you're not experienced in this, I mean, a lot of people, what is it, like 80% of the people can't even don't know the difference between PPC and organic. I mean, this is already a thing. And then we also have the presentation bias, which is also a thing which makes Google a lot of money, right? So position number one result, okay, that should be good, right? And And now it gets even worse. I mean, and also for the people to see, it's paid organic, but it's getting really well for Google, because I think this is going to have an impact on their revenue. What do you think?
Of course. They need to grow somehow. I think it's also very interesting for Google because I see a lot of statistics saying that the majority of people skip the paid research results. And so for Google, this is great to see how many people are actually going to hide the ads, right? And I don't think this... I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in a year or so this goes away again, right? Because Google has enough data about how it works. It doesn't want to hide people. It doesn't want people to hide ads. But it's an interesting test on like what people.
But is it a test? I haven't seen it as a test. And this is Google is globally launching a new sponsored results label across desktop and mobile. Yeah. This is not just, we're going to try this in India and thing and only on desktop. No, global, mobile, and desktop. Also, this is real. Also,
no, it's real. It's real. Absolutely. It's not an A/B test or so, but Google can always reverse it, right? Like they have with so many things, FAQ rich snippet, how to rich snippet, whatnot, like the design of the ads and stuff. But Google never really had like a hide. I'm sure you could. I think there was an option if you click around a little bit, you can hide a specific ad, but hide all ads for me. I think that's like an interesting way to see, like what type of users and what type of queries are those where people don't want to see ads. But I would be surprised if that button stays there forever. You know what I mean?
Or it does something else. It's like when you click on it, you want to hide it. It's you click on the ad. No, I didn't click on the ad. I clicked on the what? What? Yeah, just give me some ideas, for the super.
Show me more ads.
Yeah. All right. We're a bit late in time, but I got a couple of stuff here. So we got a great piece here from Glenn. As always, AI search and the growing importance of developing strong core visibility systems, site-level quality scoring, and anti-spam system. He basically dives into the point that these LLM search engines need to do better with spam. Google is very good, especially through stuff like Spam Brain, and he basically very passionately says that they also need something like a Spam Brain, as the JetGPTs, the Perplexities, because it is still horrible and you can still game it on a lot of different fronts. And you shouldn't be gaming it because you could also jeopardize your good Google ranking, and you shouldn't be doing this. So this is basically what Glenn is saying. It's a very good article. You should read it. And then I want to really quickly dive into actually a couple of articles from Sean Anderson. Sean Anderson has been really active with the Google Warehouse leaks. We've covered this topic extensively with Johan, with Mario Fischer, right? There's amazing stuff. There's amazing research out on the Google Warehouse leak. But as I think, and especially we in Germany, we had a lot of content regarding the Google Warehouse leak. And now I think Sean Anderson really took on the challenge to also bring a lot of that stuff very actionable to the people, and this is why I want to empfehlen. I recommend. Thank you. Damn, English is hard. This is why I want to recommend these articles to you, because they're very well. Because what he does, and this is unique. He basically says, for example, he maps out the EEAT attributes, because EAT is not a thing. It's not a KPI. We all know this, right? And we would love this to be a KPI. You could measure, the EAT is 0.85 or whatever. It's sort of like a PageRank kind of KPI. It's not, right? And people struggle with this. And so he basically gives thing as where he thought these are primary machine readable proxies, also from the warehouse leaks that could also count in these different EEAT as into the expertise, experience, authoritative, or trust. And I think this is a great way of doing this. And he didn't just do it with EEAT. By the way, this is the whole article. Obviously, if you want to dive deeper, do this. But again, this is like the heart, which was shared on Twitter. And this was also the first one I saw, and when I really saw this article series that I'm now recommending to you, because he's also talking about Firefly, which is basically Google's scaled content abuse system. So this is what is in the warehouse leak, quality copia Firefly size signal, and he basically dissects this, how basically the scaled content abuse actually works and what it's looking for. The daily clicks are the the number of clicks that are coming daily, the daily good clicks, first boosted time sag, impressions boosted. As he hits all these different metrics, which can help finding out if you're actually doing scaled content abuse, right? And this is super valuable of dissecting it like this. So this is Firefly. Then you have the CRAP system. We all know, right? I mean, like how Google is basically recording, like for every doc ID, like a query pair, like for this query, this URL was clicked and was a long click, a medium click, a short click, and maybe even the last click, that kind of stuff. This is all the CRAP system. And this goes into this joke when Gary Ilyish said, dwell time, CTA, whatever Fishkin's new theory is, those are generally made up crap. Yes, these dwell time CTR, they make up crap, right? This is the system, right? Dwell time CTR crap. I don't know if they call it this way, but it's so funny. But this is exactly what's going on. And again, he also dives very deeply into this, how this works, the whole system. So also a very good article. Then you have this, the definite guide to title tag SEO best practices post Google leak, because he's talking about the goldmine search content ranking system. And goldmine is basically like finding the best titles, or the title or the H1, and then they're scoring that, what is probably the best title I should display in the SERPs. That's the Goldmine system. And he goes into at length explaining how Goldmine works. And this helps you a lot writing better titles. And also you can put this into ChatGPT saying, hey, considering this article, help me write better titles, right? I love this. What he's done here. And then also super cool, mapping of Google updates to leaked ranking signals. Super smart to connect these directly. So it goes in all to these systems, but also like very old updates. And he looks at what it could have been. We were looking at Vince before, right? Oh, here, Vince Brand.
Yes.
So yes. Site authority queries for which official, direct signal for rewarding trusted brands. What we were talking about, somebody saying Dell computer, so you should also rank for computer because people are searching for Dell computer. I love this, how he puts these things and connects them with a specific update and the effect. Also, wow, mind blown. Great article. And last but not least, then an overarching article on the definite guide to on-page SEO after the Google leak. Also, again, super helpful. Put it into ChatGPT, say, hey, consider this article, help me make a better site. Also, I love these articles. Great job here by Sean, HoboWeb Co. UK. Have you checked out these articles as well?
I haven't had the time to really dig my teeth into them because they're so rich. Mm-hmm. But I skimmed them, and then Cyrus Shepard actually spoke at Ahrefs Evolves around Sean's work, right? And what he learned from that. So it's, I think it's, first of all, compliment Sean. Second, it's so symbolic how much depth there is in this leak that even a year after it broke, people are still gaining insights from it, right? So it goes to show how valuable this actually was for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Professor Dr. Mario Fischer, he put this amazing infographic how Google search actually works. He put this into the magazine website boosting. Amazing idea to do it like this. And now Sean Anderson comes and says, oh, I'm going to map all these things to specific updates. I mean, probably didn't write it all by himself. I mean, he probably had an engine help him here, right? But nevertheless, this is a very smart way of basically using the information that's already out there, but connecting them in new ways to make it very helpful for SEO. So this probably was his prompt. Hey, with all the data from the leak, how can I make it more actionable for I love it. I'm sorry. No, again, Sean, big hat tip. Thank you so much. This is great stuff. We got 1 more minute, but give me 2 more minutes. Crazy article. It's trivially easy to poison LLMs into spitting out gibberish, says Anthropic. It's just 250 malicious training documents can be enough to poison a 13 billion parameter model. Yeah, that is crazy. But we all know what's going on. We talked about it last week with all the PBNs being reactivated now for all the other, like top 10 X posts, to get you to show up when people search for something specific, right? I mean, I can totally see us getting to that tipping point where basically these whole PBNs are basically now poisoning the well for everyone. And yeah, it turns out to be just gibberish from now on. So it's just crazy that it's just 250, such a small number, which has a huge effect in really poison them all. And we're just saying, oh, poison, like, oh, you don't get a good answer anymore. But you can also do this like maliciously, to poison this, to have a brand, be like totally misinterpreted by AI, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So this is a terrible thing to see, because this is a real a crazy attack vector.
Yes.
And also, I love this paper. Mind Your Tone, investigating how prompt politeness affects LLM accuracy. Holy shit. The more you are like, the nicer you are, it doesn't really get you far here. You have to be more brash and more, I'm missing the words here, as you can tell, but you can be more brash, and then you actually get better results. I love this study. Basically, how do I talk to the LLM, and how good is the result? And we can see that if you are not abusive, but if you are
straightforward,
okay, let's say it like this, but you're not nice, you actually get better results. How crazy is that? It's a great study. And then 3 more things. We got a Google Business Profile report of negative review extortion scams. This is widespread. There's a big problem. A lot of people are getting calls, hey, if you don't pay the money, you're getting a lot of negative reviews. But Google now has a process, and you can now really, you document it in a specific form where you can report these scams. You report it, you submit the report with evidence, and then nothing can happen. So they say, don't pay, never pay, do not engage with them, do not pay them. Do not try to resolve it yourself. Just gather the evidence, use the form, and hopefully we get rid of it. Then Google Lighthouse 13 launches. There's now also insights-based audits, which looks really good. A couple of new things, a couple of things that were removed. Actually, a great update. The new Lighthouse. I mean, we all use it extensively, and you will like the update. And then last but not least, Google tested an analytics advisor and said GA4, according to reports. And I love that, because we all hate GA4, and especially working with it or clicking around, because I don't understand shit in GA4. We can't be all Dana Di Tommaso, who's just a savant at GA4, right? And I suck at it. So I love this. And I normally never have any analytics news in here, but I love this, because I just want to talk with them. I just want to talk with analytics, give me the data. I don't want to click around, because I just don't understand the product.
Same here.
Thank you so much.
This is MCP.
Yeah. All right. It's 5:02. We have done it again. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Of course. There was a lot of fun again. A lot of interesting stuff. Thanks so much. Enjoy your time in Canada. Enjoy the second day of the IRL. Say hi to Steve. And maybe we see him next year here in Munich or Austria. That's what I heard.
I will pressure him.
Awesome. And and nevertheless, you all have a great weekend. Maybe on Monday, there's again the German show, Daily Dose of SEO, if you want to tune in. I think I'm going to be alone again, but I can manage it alone.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I can manage that alone. I did a good job, I think, on Monday. So thank you.
I'm not surprised.
Yes. And next Friday, we're going to have another show of 302 of a kind. Oh, dude, I'm going to be really jittery next week, because I got the first league game next week for FC Bayern Munich. The first chess league is starting again, and next Friday is the first game against Ismaning, and I'm on board 4. I'm already super jittery, so I think this is going to be an interesting show, because I'm just going to be like a nervous mess. But nevertheless, it's going to be a good show, and I think we're going to have a lot to talk about again, like every week. So thanks so much for everyone for joining us. Hans, Jesse, Kaffee Meow, Dennis, thank you much for joining and commenting. And we hope to see you again next week. And now we would like to temporarily redirect you from work to the weekend. Happy optimizing, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Keep on waiting.